A former Morgan Stanley dealmaker in Paris told an employment tribunal that the lender unfairly withheld $1.5 million in deferred pay a year after he raked in more than $100 million in fees while advising Patrick Drahi on a $23 billion acquisition. Bernard Morad told judges Monday that the New York-based bank used an incentive plan to deny him a bonus he earned at Morgan Stanley France before he left to work for Drahi in 2015. Lawyers for the bank countered that Morad knew the compensation scheme was designed to reward loyalty tied to continued presence at the firm. That's totally illegal under French law if no express consent was granted, Morad's lawyer, Eric Monca, replied during the hearing at the Paris Employment Tribunal. It's a bit like saying that your salary for July will only be paid if you're still working at the company 4 years later. Morad, who left Drahi's Altus Media Group last year to take a role on Emmanuel Macron's presidential campaign, is seeking €160,000 $181,000 in damages on top of €1.3 million in deferred pay for work he performed between 2012 and 2014, the vast majority in shares. The Morad lawsuit was filed in 2015, shortly after he quit Morgan Stanley to become chairman of Altus, which owns news outlets such as French newspaper Libération. Bankers routinely turn to specialist labor courts throughout Europe to recoup lost bonuses and rehabilitate reputations, with varying degrees of success. The Morad case was first discussed in September, days before the dealmaker announced he was giving up various roles at Drahi's telecom companies to join Macron's campaign. After a heated exchange last year between Monca and François Farmine, the bank's lawyer, during the roll call of the day's cases, the panel of Paris judges had decided to delay the hearing until July 3, in a more peaceful atmosphere. At the hearing Monday, the two lawyers disagreed about whether New York or French law applies to the dispute. Hugh Fraser, a spokesman for Morgan Stanley, declined to comment on the case after the hearing. The incentive plan, which was set up in the U.S., implements a delayed vesting schedule to acquire the rights to the payout, said Farmine. Why? Because it's a tool meant to favor loyalty, Farmine said. He's trying to speed things up. Morad told the panel of 4 judges that he never signed any document, even electronically, consenting to such a schedule, or that New York law should prevail. Monca said France's highest court has ruled in a separate case that in such circumstances, Morgan Stanley can't withhold pay Morad earned, as that would be tantamount to a double penalty. The lawyer emphasized that Morad was one of the most profitable employees at Morgan Stanley. In about 4 months in 2015, he generated nearly $50 million in fees after having billed clients for more than twice as much the previous year when he orchestrated the $23 billion takeover that combined Drahi's Numericable Group with rival cable and wireless provider SFR, Monca said. For Morgan Stanley's lawyer, Morad's stature as a top executive at the bank meant he couldn't ignore the way the compensation plans worked. To back his claim, Farmine said Morad accessed a website specifically dedicated to the compensation plan where the vesting schedule is very clearly mentioned nearly 100 times and received multiple emails about it. Monca replied that Morad went on the website simply to see the variation of bonuses he was entitled to, a move that can't be mistaken as an agreement that New York law should prevail. Morad, whose stint with Macron came to an end after the election, said he sees himself as a good leaver and is surprised by Morgan Stanley's behavior. He said in a closing statement that Morgan Stanley treats people it fires better than him on that front by allowing them to get access to their deferred pay. I started as an internet Morgan Stanley. Morad said of his career that began at the bank's London office in the early 2000s. The ruling will be issued October 3.